Welcome back. Let's now turn our focus to the big focus story at this hour. Let's talk about how the Supreme Court has pulled up the medical committee for the way it has conducted itself on the NEET PG exams. This is for the postgraduate courses that we are talking about. The Supreme Court has reserved its orders on a plea seeking a special stray round or an extra out-of-turn round of counselling. This is admission counselling that we are talking about in order to fill in the vacant postgraduate medical seats under the All India quota in NEET 2021. The Supreme Court earlier on Wednesday pulled up the Medical Counselling Committee for leaving more than 1,450 seats vacant in the NEET PG 2021, saying it will not only put the aspirants in a spot but would also lead to a dearth of doctors. And this is a country that cannot afford a shortage of doctors, certainly not at a time like this where we are on the brink of another possibly fourth wave of COVID. So in the affidavit submitted before the top court, the Medical Counselling Committee informed that the software which was being used for conducting NEET PG 2021 online counselling was now closed, and hence it could not possibly fill the 1,456 vacant seats. It's a technicality that the medical committee has cited, saying that by conducting a special stray round of counselling, even after doing that, the seats cannot be filled because of this technicality. The batch of petitions was filed by doctors who are now out in protest over this issue. They appeared in NEET PG 2021-22 exam. They participated in rounds 1 and 2 of the All India quota counselling and also the state quota counselling. Remember, this is a rigorous process of screening of students for the PG courses. Not only are these many rounds of counselling, it is followed up by what is called the All India mop-up rounds, the state level and the central level. That is how rigorous this entire screening process is. Now, all of that concluded on the 7th of May, these rounds that we are talking about, but students are now requesting for a stray round, an out-of-turn round to be conducted. I am joined by two eminent doctors. I will be joined very shortly and I'll go across to the experts on this subject. But before that, let me introduce my colleague Charlene, who will tell us what exactly the court observed in this matter. Charlene?
Afrida, let me start off by quoting one of Supreme Court's most striking observations here. Suppose you are hungry for 6 months. Can you eat all of it in one day? Not at all. Now, that is the analogy that the Supreme Court has used here. It has gone on to say that there must be a limit to the rounds of counselling. Seats have remained vacant after 8 to 9 rounds. The Supreme Court certainly expressing astonishment here as to how these postgraduate medical seats have remained vacant despite conducting 8 to 9 rounds of counselling, and they're still vacant. Also went on to say that students cannot claim their rights after 1.5 years. Now, this is not the first time that the seats are vacant, and that, of course, even the Supreme Court has taken note of that. Now, while it does seem through these observations that the Supreme Court has discouraged the intention of students claiming their rights after 1.5 years, that does not mean that the court has not pulled up the medical body. It also pulled up the medical body, clearly stating that medical education cannot be compromised with, and also strikingly saying that backlog of years cannot be compensated. So it has placed emphasis on how each and every medical seat is important and they must be filled in time. They cannot be left vacant for years together, and that too after 8 to 9 rounds of counselling. Also going on to say that medical education in India is important. It cannot be compromised and backlog of years cannot be compensated. And finally, it takes me to my first point. As the Supreme Court observed, if you are hungry for 6 months, you cannot eat all of it in one day, and therefore a time-bound action to fill up these vacant seats is mandatory. Back to you.
Bound action, and that is what lie exposed here. Clearly, the systems did not function in a way that these seats could have been filled by the deserving students. Charlene, thanks for joining us. Let me then introduce our experts this evening. Dr Anil Goel, Finance Secretary of the Indian Medical Association. Also Dr N.K. Ganguly, former DG ICM, joining us here on the program. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. And if I may begin with you, Dr. Goel, the fact of the matter is that the Supreme Court is now completely disappointed with the fact that you have as many as over 1,400 seats in PG courses lying vacant simply because the system could not function in a way that these seats could have been filled. What, according to you, from your assessment of the system, failed here?
No, I don't think it's a failure of the system. We have been seeing this for many years now. And what we need to go into the details of these 1,456 seats. Out of these 1,456 seats, 1,100 seats are in non-clinical areas. Non-clinical means anatomy, physiology, where they are not making clinicians. So they are making medical teachers on that. And out of them, 1,100 in private medical colleges, which are very, very expensive. And the last year also, the statistic is 800 to 900. The students who opted for these courses have not joined these courses. And it is not this year, it has happened in the last years also, because these are non-clinical seats, these are expensive private colleges seats. People do not opt for this, or even if they opt out and they do not take admission. And this is a simple reason that these seats are lying vacant and are being piled up. And you see, 2021 admissions are over. That's one thing you have said. But now 2022 admissions are already starting. So you can't have two batches simultaneously, where one is first year batch, the another is second year batch. Because it's a 3 years course, you can't run it for in 2 years. Because if 2021 admission, there are only 2 years plus remaining for that course, while 2022 is 3 years course, and then the 2021 helps to teach 2022. So I don't think, one, it is not practical. Students are not opting. They are costly, expensive seats. Then second part is, you can't compromise the health of the nation. You can't compromise the quality of education for these students who, and already, as you have rightly said, 9 rounds of counselling has already taken place. You can't keep on adding the rounds like that. Even Honorable Supreme Court has said special stay rounds.
That let those seats be vacant. Are you saying that that's a small collateral damage? That's a small trade-off, given the current situation that you're citing? Of course, I do agree that this is a medical profession we are talking about. We can't just for the heck of filling seats get people into the system. But at the same time, are you saying that these vacancies that are lying there is a small price to pay?
No, these vacant seats are not being opted by students. That's what I'm saying. These are expensive seats in private colleges. Even after opting these seats, people are not joining. That's what I'm saying. So what we have to see, that these seats, if they are there...
No, 1,100, sir, if I may correct you, and this is what my research tells me, 1,100 of them are in private colleges, not all. Right. And it would be perhaps a little preposterous to say all of them are expensive seats. You know, do you really think that's a fair assessment?
I have already said 1,100 are in private, but they are also in non-clinical areas. Out of these 1,456 seats, how many are in clinical areas? That's what is the question. They are not in clinical areas. These are in non-clinical areas. That's anatomy, physiology. They are not making doctors. They are making medical teachers, right? So that's my second.
But why do you think the applicants, what is their point of view? In fact, what is their point of view? Why are they appealing and gone all the way to the top court saying, please allow us to appear for another round of counselling? Maybe we have a chance, but you are saying these children are not even interested in applying for those seats. Let me have Dr. Ganguly's opinion in this. Dr. Ganguly, do you concede to this view that even if these seats were up for grabs, these are not the colleges that the students would prefer? Is that the reason why the vacancies have come about?
Actually, Goel Sahab has hit the nail on the head. Our system is very complex. There are AQIS, which are the quota system for 15%. 85% seats are managed by the state themselves, setting up their own criteria of reservation. And the center has its own criteria of reservation. And there are 2 committees which look at these. And so there are seats which are not actually wanted by people. But these are non-clinical subjects which are not attractive subjects, and even in the clinical subjects there are subjects which are chosen much more by many more people. So people are, an EWS quota is very, very complex. You have to get a lot of certification for that. So what happens that when you, there's almost like a gamble, and the cutoff also goes on shifting. And in this fashion, many people then move out to seats, or they don't get into the seats which they have opted before, if they get a chance to get it in one of the state colleges and other colleges. So this, until this we have a uniform criteria all over our country, then it is going to happen.
But sir, I cannot believe that in this country, I do agree, most people would prefer the seats that are reasonable in terms of, not too expensive private colleges. But I cannot believe that there would be seats in private colleges that students would not be interested in. The reason why there are a multitude of applications today in the top court, and the top court has observed saying that this is playing with the future of the students. There are unfilled vacancies, which is a colossal waste. The shortage of doctors, ultimately, let's come to that. Dr. Goel, don't you think that somewhere the system must gear up to fill that gap? And whatever it takes to gear it up, to fill those vacancies and to have those doctors, the qualified doctors, come out of the system, it should be done.
So you can't compromise medical education, that's for sure. Even the Honorable Supreme Court has said today, there is a limit to entire process and you can't compromise on medical education.
Okay.
You can't compromise on health of nation. And one more fact I would like to bring to your notice, 800 to 900 who have opted for these courses did not take admissions. This is a fact stated by MCC, that is Medical Counseling Committee, and National Medical Commission. So these are the facts, and we know this. These are the facts. And you said about the number of doctors. These are not the clinical doctors which we are talking of. 1, 4, 5, 6 seats are basically, most of them are in non-clinical areas like anatomy, physiology, though that is very important to teach the students. But how can you say that 2 batches are given admission simultaneously? One batch junior, 1 year junior, and the second batch is present batch, like 2022.
My only concern is, even if they are for teachers, this is part of the medical education system, and this has gone to the top court. Let's see what the top court says. It has reserved its order for tomorrow on what it says about having another round of counselling to fill those vacancies. I'll have to leave it at that. Dr. Anil Goel and Dr. N.K. Ganguly, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.